The boar man was like a beast, feeling the aura that calls out thunder. He raised his fist like a rock. Bell, Ryu, Mia, and Hayden, who couldn't even stand up, looked desperate. The protruding rigid wrist turned into distorted fangs, and in the next moment, the fangs pierced the ground. Descend the huge violent fist that explodes everything. I don't know if the fragments of broken sound came from Hayden or Bell. Rapid destruction exploded in the center of the amphitheater. The boar's blow made cracks, shook the crust, and made the ground scream. The shockwaves that spread in all directions engulfed all the adventurers without discrimination, provoked them, blew them away, and buried them deep in the rubble. The outer wall of the theater collapsed, forgetting its original shape. Even the cliffs that leaned on the lake fell, and the topography of the island changed accordingly. Today's loudest rumble surrounded the Alza city ruins. The ground was no longer slabs, but stone fragments, and at the place where these fragments were piled up, he pulled out his fist. When the swirling dust dispersed, there was only a beast standing there. The sky without a single cloud looked sadly at the battlefield where the motionless adventurers fell. Unknowingly, the illusory sunlight is about to take on the color of dusk. The sun is setting and the earth is roaring. Violent vibrations shook all the ruins, and the hidden male god Pluto and goddess Hathor were also afraid to jump, but the family still had to fight. He had to defeat the opponent in front of him. Give me some. Brother, that's enough, I won't lose to brother. The silver weapon wanted to push the golden weapon away, but the golden weapon was stubbornly biting him. No matter how many injuries she suffered, no matter how many scoldings she received, Anya still charged forward without fear. Facing him, Alan lost all means to cover up his anxiety. This was a very embarrassing, very obsessive gesture that made him feel murderous, thinking that this time he would definitely defeat her. However, then don't ignore me, Alan. But he was stopped by a pitch-black slash from the side. Although he was not affected by the abnormal magic, the dark elf's wounds had not completely healed, but he still slashed, which further disturbed Alan's emotions. They said to get out of the way. Get out of the way, worm. I really want to stop you. I also want to knock you down. And, why do you yell at me, just jump like you always do? The cursed sword's backlash prevented him from fully recovering his physical strength, and neither of them could fully deal with the other. At this moment he couldn't hide his exhaustion, and Hogni showed a rare smile. This wasn't a smile for friends, nor a smile for family. An awkward smile from the man who was different and unplanned. Are you tired, Alan? No. It's not like that. Aiming at a certain core, the disturbance was carried out. It's just because from now on, your weapon isn't sharp when facing your sister. The elder brother widened his eyes, while the younger sister stopped in a strange posture. What nonsense are you talking? Alan covered his expression for a moment with extreme anger, and flew forward, trying to make Hogni unable to speak again. Facing the approaching gun sight, Hogni continued to smile. The power of the devil's sword brings eternal destruction, and then ended the super short chant that had been going on in advance. Alan's face was stained with consternation. The pitch-black jacket was already tattered, and the high collar of the jacket perfectly blocked the dark elf's lips. The catman was unable to see the movement of the lips, causing fatal delays in his reactions. Dine's flame. Karma. At the distance where the spear almost touched the opponent, Alan received the explosive flames from very close range. The shooting range is ultra-short, but it can completely blow away many enemies within the effect range. It is a magic with special power. Alan fired a solid shot and his light body was easily thrown back diagonally. He quickly kicked the ground to escape and was unharmed, but the carriage still spat out black smoke from its mouth. Look, it's on point. Even this kind of provocation can bite the bait. You should be able to avoid it normally. Hogni pointed this out lightly. The current situation, the blunder shown by the ruthless Alan made Anya more certain of the idea of, could be, in her heart. My lord brother, is that so? Alan's anger was exactly the same as in the memory, which made Anya flinch, but she still tightly clasped her hands to her chest. After hesitating for a long time, she hesitated several times before saying, "Before I came here. Wolf told me." "What are you talking about?" Anya looked angry. The elder brother, who was confused by the difference, recalled the memory from a few hours ago. That was when Bet forcibly took him out of the room and walked towards battle in the desert. I was abandoned by Seer and his elder brother. Brother and lord, they don't care what will happen. Emotionally unstable, self-destructive. Anya made a fuss and screamed loudly. Seemingly angry with her like this, the silver-haired werewolf inadvertently spoke the truth. That shitty cat looks a lot like me. I really don't want to admit it. Hey. If you didn't have to, you would have killed him long ago. After all, he's an eyesore and a noisy one. Bet's dangerous statement left Anya speechless, and at this moment he said again, "But since he stayed, the meaning is obvious." Anya widened her eyes. The werewolf, who kept looking forward and kept running, said, "I'm really dizzy to tell you this." He uttered these words calmly and never answered Anya's doubts again after that. "Ni-sama, do you hate it?" "Of course I hate it. My brother, did you give up on me because you hated me that much?" Anya, who is definitely not smart, couldn't help but tremble, and with immature expressions, desperately converted the words into her own "why." "I've been talking about killing you, but why didn't I kill you?" Seeing the impasse between the brothers, Hogni, who had been watching silently, slowly opened his mouth and interjected, "That's right, Alan." The core that Hogni summed up for himself. "If you still love, you can't give up. Then, I can only hate." In an instant, a cat's heart was exposed naked. The two cats stared at each other with wide eyes. Alan's lips twitched. He didn't open his mouth to scold. Various emotions filled his face, showing an expression that could no longer be described by anger alone, and he took a step towards the elf. "Alan, sorry," before that mouth roared. Before those feet came running. Hogni lowered his eyes and said the fact. "Although you said that you seek strength around the goddess Freya, but you become weaker." Hearing this unexpected correction, Alan was truly speechless this time. The elf, who was a first-tier adventurer like him, continued from the perspective of someone with the same power. "Hayden also said the same thing to me. Do you remember? When the new vice-chief was decided, Hayden voluntarily gave it up and gave it to you. That was many years ago. At that time, Anya was still in the Battle of the Desert. Hayden, who was elected as the vice-chief of the regiment, resolutely refused and forcibly handed it over to Alan. At that time, Hayden knew that you were stronger than him, so I gave it to you. That guy's reserve doesn't allow a weak guy to stand in the high position of the family. But, sister, after you're gone, you'll become weaker. There's nothing to protect. Alan, you're weaker than before." He wasn't referring to ability. Nor grades. If that's the case, Alan has already surpassed himself. What Hogni was talking about was menace, spirit, boldness, and will. There was a decisive difference in these things before and after he abandoned his sister, he said. That's why Hayden also said that he was very disappointed in you. He was very angry for not handing over the deputy head to you. It was impossible not to notice that Alan was surprised by the facts he had received. Anya froze when she heard what the elf had confessed all this time. Silenced by the goddess, begging him to not tell the child until she realizes it herself, Hogni lowered his head. What are you joking? What are you joking? What are you? There's no way, Alan, you can't deny it anymore. Hogni felt very guilty, resisting the self-blame in his heart, and at the same time, he tried to do everything he could. For the sake of conscience, he delivered the final blow. I can only express myself through fighting, so I will never deny it. This time, Alan really froze.